You can draw this in Procreate. It seems like a lot of you enjoyed the last pen and ink type of you can draw this tutorial that I have created. So I thought, why not make another one? Of course, I will be guiding you through all the steps. You don't need any experience, just check these results from the previous You Can Draw This video tutorials, or these awesome results from my patrons at Patreon, where you can find even more Procreate tutorials. For this tutorial, you don't need a lot, you only need one color, and that is black, and we are using 3 brushes. And those are actually brushes from my treasure chest, which you can get through freefromflow.com if you haven't already. Also be sure to keep an eye on the weekly newsletter to get any new brushes that I add to the treasure chest. For instance, for this tutorial, I have added 1 new brush to the treasure chest. What you'll also be needing for this tutorial is a paper texture photo. You can download it through the link in the description, or you can just go to Unsplash and search for paper texture and you'll find a whole bunch of paper texture photos. Oh, and the canvas, by the way, is 2300 pixels by 3000 pixels. So if you're ready, go and grab your pencil or your finger and let's get started. First, let's import the photo texture with the paper texture. You can do that by going to the wrench. You know what? First, let's zoom out a little bit so we can see the entire canvas. Then go to the wrench, then to add, and then to insert a photo. Of course, you do need to download the photo that you want to use first, so you have it on your iPad. Select import photo and then select the paper texture. I can see that it's not filling the canvas entirely, so you need to drag these corners to let it fill your entire screen. Then you can just click the arrow again to get out of there, and now we have a nice paper texture for our background. Now let's go to the layer menu and make sure that you make a new layer by clicking the plus. We don't want to be drawing directly on our paper texture. Then for the brush, we are going to use the fine liner brush, which is in the treasure chest, and for the color we are going to use pure black. You can grab pure black by just going to that color ring and then double tapping here at the bottom, and then you'll get pure black. And from now on, we won't be going to the color menu anymore. We will just be using black. First, we are going to create some guides for the jar that we are going to create. We are going to create an oval. The brush opacity, by the way, is at 100%, and the size, let's set that to 10%. I love this new feature in Procreate. Now just draw an oval, hold your pen in place to make it snap to a quick shape, and then try to make it horizontal and big enough. It's a bit tricky, but you can also just go to edit shape and then move the handles around, and that's a lot easier. We'll go for something like this, so that the space on the right side and the left side, that's a little bit smaller than the oval itself. So try to get it horizontal, and then you can go to the move tool, that's the little arrow here at the top. Then make sure that you have snapping turned on, and then when you move it around, you'll see that orange line. We'll want to make sure that our oval is in the vertical center. And then just place it around here. And then click the arrow again. Now we are going to duplicate this oval. You can either do that by swiping down with 3 fingers, like this, and then selecting duplicate, or you can go to the layer menu, slide to the left, and click duplicate there. Then go to the arrow tool to move it. We're going to make it slightly bigger, just slightly. Do make sure that you have uniform turned on, so just slightly bigger, and we'll go down just slightly to around here, and then click the arrow again. Then we'll be duplicating this one again. You can do it in the layer menu or swipe down with 3 fingers and select duplicate. Then you automatically go to the move tool, so that's handy, and then just go down a little bit. Let's go to about here. Then we'll duplicate it again and go down just a little bit more. Click the arrow again. Then we are going to duplicate it again. Swipe down with 3 fingers, select duplicate, Move it down, but now we are going to make it a bit bigger. Because we are going to that like body of the jar. It can go a little bit smaller. Just make sure that you place it in the center. So something like this. Then we are going to duplicate this oval again. Select duplicate, and we'll go all the way down for the bottom of the jar. Let's say about here. And we are going to duplicate this one more time. So swipe down with 3 fingers, select duplicate. We're going to make it a little bit smaller and move it down just a little bit. And then click the arrow again. Now let's go to the layer menu. Let's squeeze the top 2 together. Then click the brush and then click and hold the eraser tool to make it switch to the fine liner brush. So now the fine liner brush is our eraser. And these 2 layers that we have merged, those are the 2 here at the bottom. And we can go ahead and make our eraser bigger. Let's say 30%. And we can erase a part here. Because we are making guides, but actually these lines are at the bottom. We can use them. We can keep them. Use them as our final lines. No need to make them again. All right, so we have the bottom of our jar. Now let's go to the top area. Let's just merge these layers together. So we'll pinch them all. And then let's lower the opacity here. Let's do quite a lot. Let's go to 20%. And then we are going to draw on top of it, but use these lines as a guide. So make sure to make a new layer on top by clicking the plus. And now we are going to use the fine liner brush. So make sure that you select the brush again. We are going to use the fine liner brush and draw our jar. Now we are still using the brush at 10%. And of course you can rotate your canvas a bit to make it easier to follow the lines. First we are going to follow that top line. Try to make a confident stroke, but it doesn't have to be perfect. It's nice if it's a little bit wobbly. It gives some character to your illustration. And over here, we'll go to the front. We'll follow the entire oval. You don't have to do it in one go. And if you feel like your line is a bit too wobbly, then just use 2 fingers and do it again. I do that all the time. Undo must be my favorite feature in Procreate. So we have the top part. Now we can go down over here and go to this little line and attach it to the top part. We'll do the same over here. Attach it to this little line. Then we'll go down and follow this little curve. And here we can follow it along a little bit longer to about here. Then on this side, you can make it a bit different. Here you can follow it a bit less long to vary the left side and the right side. Then we'll go down over here again, follow that curve. And let's make it even longer here. And on this side as well. Follow the curve and then add a little line here. Now we can make some extra lines and just follow these guides that we have created. For instance, we can add a short line here, right in between these lines. And perhaps we can make a bit of a longer line over here. Just using that low opacity layer as a guide. One line over here. And a line here. So something like this. Then we're moving to the inside of the jar. We are going to follow these top two lines. Just follow that curve. And the other one. Again, don't worry if your line is a little bit wobbly. That's okay. That's adding interest to your drawing. And that's not just an excuse. Great, so now we have to add, well, the rest of the jar. To make that easier, we are going to use the Symmetry Tool. Let's go to the wrench, then to Canvas. Then you need to turn on the drawing guide and then go to Edit Drawing Guide. And here at the bottom, you'll see Symmetry. And then with Symmetry, whatever you draw on the left side, it'll also show up on the right side and vice versa. Just click Done here at the top. And now just pick a side that you feel comfortable with. I feel comfortable with the left side, making that curve over there. So let's start here. We'll start a bit below that curve here. And then we'll make a curved line along that oval. And then we'll have to go all the way down. You can actually use the quickshape tool. You can start here, make a line going down, and then just hold your pen in place to make it snap. But it does feel a little bit too straight. So let's go along the line and make it a bit more wobbly, a bit more natural looking. It's okay if it's a bit thicker in some areas. Let's make it a little bit thicker here at the top. That makes it look more natural. Alright, now let's zoom out, check our jar. I think it's looking good. Let's turn off that vertical line. We don't need that anymore. So go to the wrench, turn off the drawing guide. If you go to the layer, you can see that it's still assisted. You can turn that off. If you still want to use this layer, you can click it, turn off drawing assist. Now symmetry is totally turned off. We can get rid of this layer. Those are the guides. We can just remove it. Slide to the left, click delete. And we can merge these two layers. You can click the top one and then go for merge down. Now on a new layer underneath our jar, we are going to get started with the landscape. First click layer 1, then click the plus, then use the brush, still using the fine liner brush. And we are going to draw a mountain range here at the bottom. Go a little bit up here. And then let's make a wobbly line from the left to the right. Let's go down here, then back up again. Down over here, all the way to the right side. Then let's add some extra lines. For instance, here where you have this little dip, make a wobbly line going down. Over here as well, a little wiggly line. And here from the top, add a few of these lines from the mountain tops and these little dips. Not sure what to call them. But also some lines, some wiggly lines along the longer lines to add some interest to these mountains. Give them some texture. Wiggly line over here. And a line over here. I think this is already looking quite mountainy. Next we are going to use the Stipple Brush. And I have adjusted the original Stipple Brush. I have created the Stipple Brush 2.0. so we can easily create more stipples with one stroke. We're going to add stipples to the bottom area, but first let's make a selection. We'll go to the selection tool, that's the S-shape ribbon, use freehand, make sure that you don't have color fill turned on, and then just select that bottom area. Try to not go outside of the edge. This is a great exercise for stability. Then loop around and close the selection. When you have a selection active, you can only paint inside of the selection. So when we use the brush and go over this area, by the way, the opacity is at 100% and the size is at 30%. And now we can just go over that lower area, push harder here at the bottom, add more stipples there and less stipples as you move up. To add a little bit of a shadow area there. Then click the S-shape ribbon again to turn off the selection and we are ready to move on. We are going to add more mountains behind this mountain. And again, we're going to use the selection tool for that. So again, click the S-shape ribbon and then start here on the left side and make a mountainy shape behind our other mountain. And then make a selection along this mountain range. Follow those lines. All the way to the left, then back up and click that little circle to close your selection. Then go back to the Stipple 2.0 brush and go over the tops of these mountains. Also go down. I'm pressing very lightly and then I'll press harder here near the tops. So we get some sort of a gradient with a lot of stipples at the top and less and lighter stipples near the bottom. Now that we got this, let's make more mountains. Let's go to the selection tool again. Click it once, click it twice, then make a selection for more mountains behind the ones that we have just created. We can go down here, then follow the mountains that we have already created. You don't have to be super precise. And then close the selection, go back to the brush and stipple away. Add the most stipples to the top so that it appears as if there's some mist near the bottom. Like that. Then we'll make another selection, so double tap it. Then let's make a selection over here for even more mountains behind these. And this way you can work your way to the back, adding more and more mountains. Let's make another selection. Start about here. I'm giving less peaks to this one. Following these mountains, so we won't go over those too much when making the stipples. Then go back to the brush, and I want to make these a little bit lighter. So I'm using very little pressure, making these mountains lighter than the ones in front. And then click the S-shape ribbon again. Now let's add some trees in front. Let's go to the layer menu, click the plus for a new layer, and then in the treasure chest brush pack, let's go and use the pine tree long brush. The opacity of the brush is at 100% and let's set the size to 40%. And let's just add a few trees here in the foreground. Just tap a few times on the right side and on the left side. Then let's turn them off for now. Go to the layer menu, use this check mark to turn them off and then make a selection of the bottom area of the jar again. Go along the edge. Then over here, loop around. Then once you have that selection, you can go back to that layer, turn it on, click it, and then use mask. Now whatever is outside of the jar is automatically masked. Now let's go back to layer 4, click it again, and go and use the fine liner brush. Where is it? There it is. And then just add some extras to the trees. To make it look more chalky, just go over the tops. Add a few branches perhaps. So that it blends with the rest of the style a bit better. And so that they don't look completely the same. This is fine actually. Let's go and add a moon and clouds and stars and the final touches. Let's start off with a moon. Let's make a new layer for this. Let's click the plus in the layer menu. And now let's change the brush size. We are going for 6% in size. Opacity is still at 100%. And let's just draw a circle over here. Hold your pen in place to make it snap to a quick shape. And then hold your finger on the screen to make it snap to a perfectly round circle. And that's how you can create a circle. Super easy. Click the brush again. And now let's add some clouds. We're going to make nice poofy clouds with big circles. So circular motions. Make it a bit smaller here. Then add another one here. And then we'll make the bottom part, we'll make that flat. By just adding these wispy shapes. Let's create another cloud over here. Another one. Just make these rounded shapes. So these are pretty basic clouds. Very stylized. Let's make a small one over here. Kind of looks like butt cheeks. And a flat area here. Now they look kind of boring like this. Let's add a little bit to them. We are going to add some texture. We're going to make these lines. So just some dashed lines. You can also make some dashed lines over here, giving the sense of more rounded shapes there. And some lines on the flat area as well at the bottom. So this is just some texture. And this is adding interest to these clouds. A rounded shape over here. We'll follow this rounded shape. Then these butt cheeks. This is looking better. Now, in case you want to move them around, in case you're not happy with the placement, you can easily fix that by just using the selection tool, the S shape ribbon. And then, for instance, select this cloud. Click that little circle to close the selection and then go to the move tool. And then you can just move that little cloud. Move it around and place it where you want it. And then just click the arrow again to get out of the menu. Now all we need are some stars to finish this project. We're going to make the same type of stars that we did in the previous tutorial in which we created a inky artwork. So we are going to make like the upside down V, V shape. So like the diamond shape. And we're going to make like these cross shapes, little circles. And just in these open areas where you see some space, go and fill it with some nice shapes. Perhaps another diamond shape here. And let's also add some that are coming out of the jar. So over here, but also here. As if these stars are coming out of the jar. A circle, another cross, perhaps a cross over here. I feel like we can add some here as well. Maybe a little diamond shape here. I think this is looking great. You're done. That is, if you have thought about clicking that thumbs up in case you enjoyed the video, and if you have thought about commenting. If you did, then you're free to go and share your results, of course. If you go ahead and share it on Instagram, then don't forget to tag me in the image, not just in the description. That way I will be able to find your work and perhaps we'll see it in the next video. I want to thank you for watching. I will see you next time. What did you think about my nails today, by the way? I think they're not quite matching with the theme, but I wanted to add something colorful. I'll see you next week.